Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speak Smart podcast. Today, we're diving into something you've specifically asked for: practical techniques for expressing yourself and navigating conversations. In English, we've got a stack of your learning materials here, and we're excited to extract those golden nuggets of wisdom for you.
What's fascinating here is we're not just talking about grammar rules or vocabulary. We're talking about the art of communication, that subtle dance of expressing your thoughts and responding to others in a way that builds connection and understanding.
Okay, let's unpack this. The materials start with the foundation of expressing basic opinions. It seems simple, but sometimes we overthink it.
Right, they highlight those phrases we often use without even thinking. I think, I believe. What's interesting is that these phrases work so well because they create a sense of ownership over your opinion without sounding too forceful.
It's like saying, "This is my perspective," without shutting down other viewpoints. And the materials provide some really clear examples like, I think learning a new language is a fantastic challenge. Or, I believe that regular practice is key to improvement. It's direct, it's personal, and opens the door for further discussion.
And as the materials point out, in more formal situations, you might want to opt for, in my opinion. It adds a touch of formality while still conveying your personal perspective.
It's like choosing the right tool for the job, depending on the context of the conversation. But what really struck me is how the materials go beyond just expressing opinions. They delve into the often tricky territory of agreeing and disagreeing.
That's where things can get interesting, right? Because we all want to be respectful, but we also want to be honest about our own thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. And what I appreciate is that the materials offer specific phrases that strike that balance between honesty and politeness. For agreeing, they suggest simple yet effective phrases like, "I agree with you," or, "That's a good point." It acknowledges the other person's perspective while also affirming your own other.
And when it comes to disagreeing, they emphasize the importance of framing your disagreement respectfully. They suggest phrases like, "I see your point, but I have a different perspective," or, "I understand where you're coming from, but I don't quite agree." What's key here is that you're acknowledging the other person's view before presenting your own.
It's that soft start that can make all the difference in how your disagreement is received. And they stress the importance of providing a reason for your disagreement, not just stating it outright.
Right. They encourage you to use phrases like "because," "the reason is," or "since" to connect your opinion to your reasoning. It adds weight to your disagreement and invites further dialogue.
For example, instead of just saying, "I disagree," you could say, "I disagree because I think there are other factors to consider." It's more nuanced, it's more thoughtful, and it keeps the conversation flowing.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The materials emphasize that expressing your opinion is just one side of the coin. Equally important is actively seeking out the opinions of others.
I love that they highlight this. It's about making the conversation a two-way street, a genuine exchange of ideas.
And they provide some really practical phrases to elicit those opinions from others. Simple things like, "What do you think?" Ooh, "What are your thoughts on this?" Or even, "How do you feel about that?" Ooh, can make a huge difference in how engaged the other person feels.
It's like you're saying, "Your perspective matters to me," which can create a much more collaborative and enjoyable conversation. And it helps us gain a deeper understanding of each other's viewpoints, even if we don't always see eye to eye.
Speaking of not seeing eye to eye, the materials don't shy away from the fact that disagreements are bound to happen. What's important is how we handle those disagreements.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that the materials don't present disagreement as something to be feared or avoided. They frame it as an opportunity for growth and understanding.
It's like they're saying, disagreements are a natural part of any healthy relationship, as long as we approach them with respect and a willingness to listen.
Exactly. They emphasize the importance of staying calm, listening actively, and expressing your disagreement politely, even when you feel strongly about the topic at hand.
It's about choosing your words carefully and avoiding language that could escalate the situation. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," they suggest using phrases like, "I respect your opinion, but I have a different view," or "I understand where you're coming from, but I see it differently."
It's about focusing on the issue, not the person. And it's about recognizing that even in disagreement, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. What I found particularly insightful is that the materials encourage us to acknowledge the validity of the other person's feelings, even if we don't agree with their perspective.
Right. Phrases like, "I can see why you feel that way," or "I understand your concerns," can go a long way in diffusing tension and creating a more empathetic environment.
It's about validating the other person's experience, even if you don't share their viewpoint. And that leads us to one of the most valuable skills highlighted in these materials, the art of compromise.
Compromise is often seen as a weakness, but these materials present it as a strength, a way to find solutions that benefit everyone involved.
It's about moving beyond the win-lose mentality and embracing the possibility of a win-win outcome. And they offer some really practical phrases to help us navigate those compromise conversations.
Phrases like, let's find a solution that works for both of us. Or, is there a way we can meet in the middle? Can shift the conversation from confrontation to collaboration.
It's about recognizing that we don't always have to agree on everything to find a solution that moves us forward. And they provide some really compelling examples to illustrate this point.
One example that stuck with me was about two friends who wanted to see different movies. Instead of arguing, they compromised by agreeing to see one movie that night and the other movie the following week.
It's such a simple solution, but it perfectly encapsulates the spirit of compromise. They both got what they wanted, and they strengthened their friendship in the process.
And what's fascinating is that the materials go beyond just verbal communication. They also touch on the importance of nonverbal cues in conveying our message effectively.
That's so important. Body language, tone of voice, eye contact, all of these things play a huge role in how our message is perceived.
They emphasize the importance of maintaining eye contact to show that you're listening, nodding to signal understanding, and using a tone of voice that's both respectful and sincere.
It's about those subtle cues that can make all the difference in how our words are interpreted. And they highlight how these nonverbal cues can vary across cultures, which is something to be mindful of when communicating in English with people from different backgrounds.
What I find particularly interesting is the idea that nonverbal communication can sometimes be even more powerful than words. A simple smile or a gentle touch can convey empathy and understanding in a way that words sometimes can't.
It's about that human connection, that unspoken language that transcends words. And it's a reminder that effective communication is about so much more than just the words we use. It's about our presence, our intention, and our willingness to connect with others on a deeper level.
And as we've been talking about all this, it's occurred to me that the materials don't present these techniques as a one-size-fits-all solution. They encourage us to adapt them to our own personalities and communication styles.
It's about taking these tools and making them our own. It's about finding what feels natural and authentic to us, while still embodying the core principles of respect, clarity, and a willingness to engage in meaningful dialogue.
And I think that's what makes these materials so empowering. They give us the confidence to express ourselves in English, to navigate conversations with grace, and to build stronger connections with others. It's about finding our voice and using it in a way that feels both authentic and effective.
And they remind us that practice is key. The more we use these techniques, the more comfortable and confident we'll become.
It's like learning any new skill. It takes time, effort, and a willingness to make mistakes along the way, but the rewards are well worth it.
The materials encourage us to embrace those moments of awkwardness or uncertainty as opportunities for growth. They remind us that we're all works in progress, and that's perfectly okay.
And one final thought that resonated with me. The goal isn't to become some kind of perfect communicator. It's about striving to be our best selves, to communicate with clarity and respect, and to create a more harmonious world through the power of our words and actions.
It's about recognizing that communication is a journey, not a destination. And it's a journey that we can all embark on together, one conversation at a time. Wow, it's amazing how much we've uncovered about communication just by digging into these materials.
It really highlights how even seemingly simple conversations are actually quite complex.
Yeah, it's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing all these subtle nuances and dynamics at play.
And what's striking is that these techniques aren't just about speaking English. They're about effective communication in any language, in any context.
Right, it's about those universal principles of respect, clarity, and empathy that transcend cultural boundaries.
Absolutely, and as we've been talking, it's made me think about how these skills are so valuable, not just in our personal lives, but also in our professional endeavors.
Yeah, you're right. Whether you're giving a presentation, negotiating a deal, or simply collaborating with colleagues, being able to articulate your thoughts clearly and respectfully can make all the difference.
And these materials provide a framework for doing just that. They give us the tools to structure our thoughts, to anticipate potential objections, and to respond to challenges in a way that's both assertive and diplomatic.
It's like they're giving us a roadmap for navigating those complex communication scenarios that we often encounter in the workplace.
And what's fascinating is that these techniques can also help us to become more effective listeners.
Oh, that's such a crucial point. It's not just about speaking well. It's about listening well, too.
The materials emphasize the importance of active listening, of really paying attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally.
Right. It's about putting aside our own biases and assumptions and really trying to understand the other person's perspective.
And when we do that, it opens up a space for genuine dialogue, for that back and forth exchange of ideas that can lead to creative solutions and deeper understanding.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond simply hearing words to truly listening with our hearts and minds.
And that brings us to one of the most profound insights from these materials, the transformative power of communication.
It's about recognizing that communication is not just a means of conveying information. It's a force that can shape our relationships, our communities, and even the world around us.
When we communicate effectively, we build bridges of understanding. We create connections that foster empathy, collaboration, and progress.
And when we communicate poorly, we erect walls of division, misunderstanding, and conflict.
The materials remind us that communication is a powerful tool that can be used for good or for ill.
It's a responsibility that we all share, to use our words wisely, to speak with kindness and respect, and to strive to create a world where communication is a force for positive change.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Never underestimate the power of your voice.
Your words have the power to inspire, to heal, to educate, and to create a more just and compassionate world.
So go out there and use your voice with purpose. Speak your truth, share your story, and make your voice heard.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and tools to enhance your communication skills in English.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and keep striving to become the best communicator you can be.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Smart podcast.